Hey, real quick, before the show starts, if you could hit that subscribe button down below, it will go a long way to helping out the show so we can keep making college football shows every week, all year round.
Welcome to the Solid Verbal. And now, Dan and Ty.
It is a cold and dreary day in Eastern PA, but it's always a pleasure to be here with you and the Verballerhood. Dan Rubenstein, welcome back.
Thank you very much. It's actually pretty nice here. I'm excited for this show. I'm excited to speak with you. And hopefully, Ty, through this content, we can warm you up.
I was mostly speaking to the Verballerhood. The sunshine, the rays of the Verballerhood beaming down upon me.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. Very excited for this show. We're having on Chris Fallica, now of Fox, formerly of ESPN. You've seen his face on Game Day. You've seen his face on Big Noon. And he has occupied a unique place in the college football media world. And so excited to talk to him about all sorts of things, data and his own personal history and how things have changed over the years. So can't believe we haven't had him on. Excited to have him on. And go from there.
Absolutely. We didn't do a show earlier in the week,
right?
Because I had some vocal stuff going on. But we are back now this week on Thursday. We haven't fully sussed this out, but I think that may also be the plan next week because we are very slowly now building into preview season. Once we get into the first full week of July, you're going to start seeing preview content go up 3 times per week, every Sunday, every Tuesday, every Thursday. We're starting to gear up for the college football season. The first thing that you will hear, as you have the last 2 years now, is the intro to the 2026 college football season. And then that will be followed by a part 1 and a part 2 as we make our way through the G6. And we'll lump Connecticut in there as well. And then after that, we're going to be rolling with the Power 4. We're going to continue on with what we did each of the last 2 seasons, I think. It's at a minimum last year where we did a part 1, which was a bigger picture look at the Power 4 conferences. So we'll start off with the ACC, the themes within the conference, the contender tiers within the conference, the things that we're watching within the conference. And then that'll be followed up by 2 more episodes where we break the conference down into 2 and we preview individual teams within. So we've started doing that already. It's a lot of studying, but honestly, it is June right now. There is not a whole lot to talk about. We do have something to talk about here momentarily.
Yeah.
But it's a breath of fresh air to actually be thinking about and talking about real world football. I'm kind of pumped.
Agree. Absolutely. Yes. So that first episode will be tiers and storylines, and then we'll go through team by team stuff and, talk about what's new for this year, how we feel about these teams and schedules, the stuff you're used to. And I got to tell you, Ty, it makes me very happy to do those episodes. I'm always super pumped to dive in and reveal all of my wrong opinions ahead of the season beginning.
100%. So if you're new here, even if you're not, make sure you hit follow or subscribe so that you don't miss any of these episodes, any of those episodes. If you've got something to say, as always, solidverbal@gmail.com. And of course, as we say on every episode, verballers.com, verballers.com. That is our Patreon. We built a whole fan portal that we're going to roll out this year that's going to contain all of the games that we've played in the past that we're going to, in some cases, roll out here in the very near future that are new or were maybe dormant for a year or so as we get into preview season. So we'd encourage you all to check that out. If you do sign up as a Patreon member, it is, again, the best way that you can support what Dan and I do. Helps us keep the lights on here at Solid Verbal HQ.
Yes.
With that being said, Dan, I'm not going to yell it because my voice has been dead for about a week and a half now. After you and I recorded, I don't know, last Wednesday.
Yeah.
A little bit about like a week ago. I then went to the World Cup and screamed my face off, which didn't help. But really going back to Wednesday, it's been no bueno with the voice. I'm not going to yell the breaking news thing.
And you were dehydrated. And you had a terrible slice of pizza. And you had a rough
terrible
go of it.
$16 slice of pizza at Lumen Field, a.k.a. Seattle Stadium, yes.
Yeah, usually the best pizza in Seattle. But
The
unfortunately,
best,
you just
worst
got
pizza I've
you got
ever
a
had
bad
was
slice.
at Lumenfield. But
Okay, but we do have breaking news.
we do have breaking news. It turns out that all of that, and by that I mean capital T that, surrounding Brendan Sorsby. For a long time, he was trying to play in college football. Decided, even though he won a temporary injunction, it wasn't for him. There was too much going on. Maybe it was Texas Tech. Maybe it was Brendan Sorsby. It was probably a little bit of both of them, deciding that it was best to part ways. He was going to enter the NFL supplemental draft. The NFL has decided it is declining to hold a supplemental draft this summer. It's not like a thing that always happens. In reality, they haven't done one in years. And as such, Brendan Sorsby is now going to have to wait his turn until the 2027 NFL draft. Do you have the quote from the NFL lawyer?
Yeah. So this is a letter to Brendan Sorsby or his representatives, whatever. The quote is, so this is Pete Thamel. Per the letter obtained by ESPN to Sorsby, which references a supplemental draft that hasn't been held in years, quote, your petition, filed 3 business days before the deadline without any supporting information or documentation, and only after abandoning your recent litigation efforts to avoid NCAA sanctions, does not provide a basis for the league, capital L, to alter those plans.
Man.
The plans is in to not have a supplemental draft this year. So 2027 it is. Those are where the hopes are. And it's a longer letter. I encourage you to check it out if this kind of thing interests you. But Brendan Sorsby will not be playing NFL football this fall.
This story has taken so many turns.
Yes.
It has taken so many turns since, gosh, I don't even remember when all this news broke. You're going to have to wait a while to see what Sorsby looks like in the NFL. I don't know if there's another league that would take him in the interim just to see what he can do and help refine his skills. I don't know if he goes into training just to sort of get ready for the draft. But
I'm sure.
Seems as though, this has taken another turn while we were recording today, recording this a little bit early on Tuesday, June the 23rd. So if there is anything more on this in the interim, I suppose we will break it here on the show. But for the time being anyway, that's where we're at now.
So he was considered to be, I saw draft analysts talking about this and that his tape was sort of mixed and some of his best clips were as good as any of, the quarterbacks in next year's draft or this year's draft. But it was the depth of clips that he didn't necessarily have. It was 2 first round quarterbacks this year, Ty Simpson and Fernando Mendoza, correct?
Right.
So the the class wasn't especially great, per NFL teams when it comes to quarterbacks this year. Next year obviously has received a number of different draft people talking about how deep it is and how talented it is. So now he is going up against the likes of those, Arch Manning and Dante Moore types when it comes to finding his spot in the NFL. So certainly it'll be more difficult for him, though I guess he'll be better rested.
I suppose, I said, if there is more to come and it is of interest here to the Verballerhood, we'll do our part.
I think this is kind of it for a long time.
It would seem as such.
And with that, we welcome in Chris Fallica. I'm almost positive that's pronounced correctly. Not Fallica, not Fallica. Fallica, yes?
You have it. I've been called all of the above. I've been called Fallica as well. Yeah,
Sure.
But you know what? Yeah, you got it on the first try, so that's you have already endeared yourselves to me.
Yes. I mean, look, it matters, right?
It does matter.
Your name is all you have at the end of the day. So let's get it right.
I did a show. It was going back a few years now, and it was actually when Lamar Jackson was still at Louisville. So that's how long ago it was. I did a show in Louisville where I multiple times a year for multiple years, and they still called me Fallica. And I never corrected him because I don't want to be that guy. I mean, I'm on whatever. It's fine. I figured someone else would ultimately tell them, but nobody ever did. So it's good.
Okay. So now Fox Sports and Big Noon and Bear Bets, you're all over the place with Fox Sports and the college football and now the World Cup ecosystem. Formerly a producer and researcher and all sorts of things with Game Day. You've seen him as the Bear, not a bear, the Bear.
The only one.
The one and only. So I guess here's the transition. First and foremost, was there a name in all of your research packets you're poring over, you're studying that either you said on air or were trying to help people say on air? Was there a particularly, because we've been doing the show since 2008. There is not a team, there is not a player, there is not a name that has escaped our ability to mispronounce something.
I think
you struggled?
Chris Fuamatu Ma'afala was one of my favorite ones.
Oh, that's a biggie. Yeah, sure.
To go in there. Oh no, shoot, I'm forgetting there's a great, I can't remember the linebacker from Auburn. Oh gosh, late. Oh no, I can't remember who it was now.
Around when?
Well, we have a goal. We have a Portugal goal. I'm sorry.
You're good.
People love interrupting, and here's a goal. We're listening to this
on a recorded medium. Yeah.
Recording. Yeah, exactly.
So what is this time of year like for you as you're preparing for the season, as you're preparing, college football from a number of different perspectives and gathering information and preparing for TV? Like what is June, July like?
It's a little bit of a kind of in between periods because I'll try and do some things during like spring practice and when spring practice wrap up, like figure out my like burning questions for the type of year, issues, storylines that are most prominent in my mind. I'll kind of do a little like data mining, maybe catch up on updating some databases that I have with like AP poll rank and spreads and things like that. So it's a lot of maintenance at this time of year, just trying to prepare. I have some opinions already formed on when the win totals get posted. I like to kind of cross-reference and kind of see what I might project with some of the numbers that are out there. So I fired on some early season win totals. But yeah, right now I'm kind of in that in-between period where World Cup's here. So I've been writing daily columns and watching World Cup and betting World Cup. So we're kind of in that in-between period right now where I don't think, and none of the numbers right now I think are going to move greatly from where they've all been betting to already. So in terms of firing in on college football action, I'm not going crazy right now, but I will once camp opens up and you see and read and hear things about impact players or teams that don't necessarily look good, or maybe there's some awards plays out there. But yeah, it's a good time of year. You get to kind of take a little bit of a breath.
What else is in your database? What kind of numbers, what kind of metrics do you look at to inform, not even just from a wagering perspective, also, right, when you're just talking about the sport, what interests you? What kind of information do you feel like informs your viewpoint?
Yeah, well, we have access to the True Media database, which is great. I mean, it has all sorts of EPA numbers in there, schedule adjusted metrics, which those are the schedule adjusted metrics are my most leaned upon stuff, whether it's based on the schedule itself or it's essentially grinding it down to Power 4 or top 30, things like anything. There's no sport out there that statistics and power ratings and public opinion should be based on schedule-wise than college football. Everything is based on who you played with in the era here of super conferences. The schedules within each league are so varying and so different. Leagues are different. The group of six is a completely different sport than the Power 4, and even within the Power 4, there's a different sport within there. So I love mining and doing filters amongst that. I obviously like looking at a lot of the individual matchups in terms of like EPA offense versus EPA defense, things like that, to try and find some things. And I like looking at post-game win probability. I looking at try and find which teams we might be able to get an opportunity on to, and maybe they're not really as good as their record are. They won this game, but like the best example I think from last year was the Oklahoma-Alabama game where Oklahoma had 170 yards in the game and like a 7% post-game win expectancy, and somehow went in there and won. And that obviously had a big trickle-down effect in the college football playoff.
Chris, one of our really good friends in the college football world is Bill Connolly, who obviously is interested in a lot of the same stuff. And we've had conversations with him over the years about the transfer portal. And I would say the evolving way that we all look at the transfer portal relative to preseason projections. What does the transfer portal mean to Chris Fallica? Like, how do you try and suss out all of this player movement and actually use it in a meaningful way when you're trying to project forward?
I still haven't mastered it. I still haven't figured out a good way to kind of do it, because it's a lot of, as Bill did in the past. Bill loved the returning production, and returning production now, it's completely like, how are you defining it? Returning production that was on the squad last year, returning production including the players with the production that they had at their former school. It is a guessing game. A lot of times are these guys who were in a bad situation at their school and they just needed to get out. Or are they someone who is just securing more money in the pay for play era to get a better bag and play more, a better opportunity? So I have not found a good way of doing it. I will say the one area that I think macro in terms of transfer portal, I think teams that use, and I think it might have proved out a little bit last year with some of these teams, that if you kind of recruit well, you recruit the trenches, you recruit the interior, and then you kind of use the portal to find your quarterback, find a defensive back, find a wide receiver, find a skill guy. I think a lot of times that might be the way to go, because I think even recruiting bore this out. Like, it takes a while for a quarterback to get on the field. It takes a while for a wide receiver maybe to have an impact like that. And why are you going to utilize resources to bring in a guy that after a year, if he doesn't play, he's going to wind up bolted in the portal anyway? So I think that's a strategy that a lot of teams might start using. I know I don't want to say that is Miami's strategy, but if you look at the way Miami, my alma mater, built their team, you recruited well, and Bain and the guys on the offensive line that they had, and then you go out and you bring in Cam Ward, you bring in Carson Beck, you bring in CJ Daniels, you bring in Keontae Scott, and the areas in the skill they have supplemented their team, and it worked out well. We'll see if that's a path moving forward, if that just happens to be a one-off.
One of the things that I've been thinking about a lot, because we're starting to collect all of our preview material now as well, I think back to when Deion Sanders first took over at Colorado, and how there was much made of the fact that he was basically importing his own team, right? He's bringing his own guys. And, that worked maybe to some extent. Clearly what went on at Indiana is an edge case. Miami's been very successful as well. I'm wondering if moving forward, there is any kind of way to quantify coaches who have had success in the portal in previous seasons, because I'm starting to see a trend, right? Like, again, Cignetti probably isn't like the base case because he's very much an anomaly, but it does seem as if you can look across college football and find coaches who have been overwhelmingly more successful than some of their peers. Like, don't bet on Mike Norvell, but maybe bet on somebody else who's had a little bit more success. I don't know if that's something I can put into play yet, but it's definitely something I jotted down.
I like your thought there, because it's not only the head coach and the coaching, it's these personnel guys that you have, your talent, your roster builders, kind of the GMs of the program who do really well. Look at Vandy. Vandy's another one that they've done super well, and they're bringing in players. Indiana, obviously, Miami, obviously, Lane Kiffin. Someone who obviously has done very well. That's going to be something too, to see how the GM, the coaching relationship, the collectives, and then moving forward, what happens in the grand space of the sport if Congress gets involved, which, God, I hope it doesn't. That's the last thing we need, is government intervention in the sport. I don't know if what we have right now is sustainable. I think we are all in agreement that something needs to be done, whether it's making these players employees, figuring out what to, because I think someone sent me an article yesterday. I think it was in a basketball chat. So I don't know if it was related to basketball or related to football, or related to the athletic department, but like Louisville had like a $30 million deficit, or like, it's not sustainable the way we're going right now. So something's got to be done, or else unfortunately, we're going to see, I think, a lot of these programs go away and see a breakaway and there's a super conference, which I don't necessarily think is the best thing for the sport either.
I know you're a researcher at heart.
Mm-hmm.
I know you care about a lot of the same data sets that Dan and I do. What is the biggest difference for you, having maybe been on the other side of the camera, doing the hard work, informing the talent, helping them be as smart as possible on air, to then suddenly moving to the other side where you're giving opinions? More people can see your face, can attribute whatever you're saying directly to you, and they have your social media handle. Can you describe what that experience has been like? Because it's not something we've experienced here. Maybe someday. My hunch is that it would probably take a lot of people off by surprise.
It really hasn't been like super jarring for me. The way.
Okay, well, that's good, right?
Yeah, it is good because I try to, the person I was as a researcher with the numbers and the opinions that I would have in my tweets and whatever else. I'm kind of the same person now. Just I'm the one delivering it kind of on air as opposed to giving it to Kirk or Reese or Chris or David Paul, whoever on the game day city. So it's kind of cool that it's something that I came up with, and it's interesting because I think this just came into my mind as I was thinking about it. Like there were things that I would come up with at the time when I'd be like, damn, I really would love to be the one to like say this on air. But at the time we didn't necessarily have the camera and whatever else to do it. So I would like kind of give it to Kirk or Chris or whomever. And like, okay, it's got to be said like this way. This is a really good note. And this is how I want it like spun. But it was really organic the way it all came about because I just had such a great relationship with those guys on the set, and they knew how to press my buttons, and they knew what subjects would get me going, and they knew what I was on for bear with that poor pun on words there. But it's been good. It's I kind of like it because now that if I'm the one, I say it, I own it. And going back and forth, yesterday, for example, I had a comment. It's amazing how everything comes back to like college football in a sense with a lot of my followers. Like I said something like harmless. I think the World Cup final, it would be so much better at Azteca or in Dallas. So much better than MetLife. And someone who apparently was a New Yorker, and I'm a New Yorker too, had a Notre Dame tie, turns this into, no, it wouldn't. You just, why would you say that? New York is, and it's just like you touting the ESPN line of Miami being ahead of Notre Dame and making that move and going all in on Notre Dame. And I said, well, hold on. I said, if you want to go back and look, my argument last year was that you want to blame someone, blame the college football playoff for the way they ranked these teams to begin with, because Miami never should have been behind Notre Dame. And my argument was that Notre Dame should have been in over Alabama or Oklahoma. Yeah. And the aerial issue was the fact that you had group of 6 teams in. So the fact that I can kind of go back and like people interact and care enough about what I have to say, it's pretty cool, because I try and be the same guy on air, on social media that I am. And as long as you don't like berate me or curse at me or whatever, like I'll do my best to respond and have interactions with you.
Something I have always wondered, just because you brought it up here a second ago, you have access to incredible data sets, given the work that you're doing for the on-air talent. I feel like every so often, and it doesn't happen every Saturday, but every so often there will be an obscure, and I mean really obscure stat that somebody pulls out of left field that was found deep in the annals of like the Elias Sports Bureau or whatever. Yep. I have always wondered, I am not kidding, the entire span of me being a sports fan, I have always wondered, how on God's green earth are you finding those stats? Because it is not, you mentioned you have like ideas for something that you put out there on air and you want to be the one to deliver it. How are you finding these things? Is it just really clever filtering?
Yes.
Because every data set is known to man is available. Like what, can you talk me through that process? Because I genuinely have always wondered where that stuff comes from.
A lot of times it is like, I'll just go on kind of a wild goose chase and start doing filters for certain things and just kind of sort and mine stuff out. And oh wow, look at this. If you look at combined penalty yards, turnovers, and sacks allowed per game, whomever is the most undisciplined team. And I actually this was something I actually came up with. I called it like the undisciplined index. It was like the team, like penalties per game, turnovers per game, and like sacks allowed per game, to figure out like the worst like teams in that category. Where what purpose it uses, I don't know. But I guess on the opposite end, if like you could say like the teams that don't, and this is how I kind of came up with it last year. I used it to support Indiana. Like they were like the best team in the country last year in terms of allowing sacks, committing fewest penalties, and not turning the ball over. So that obviously panned out into something where you got a team that didn't hurt themselves at all, and they took advantage of all these things, and they wound up winning the national championship. So a lot of it is that. I'll just have a list of things that like I kind of want to look up. Just like I love looking up non-offensive touchdowns. Just kind of is a thing that I like. Red zone turnovers is something that I like looking at. I like big high variance plays within a game. Obviously, the middle eight is something that obviously has gotten a lot of publicity. I know Dave Bartu has a lot of thoughts on that as well. How that is kind of overblown, kind of looking at like just kind of differentials at certain points in the game. But I can remember way back, like in my day, like how easy is it now to do like average gain on first down or average distance to go on third down and conversion rates. I can remember 1997 college football season, and that was my second year as game day researcher. Like I would have to reach out to the schools and get a hard copy of all the statistical game books for the season. So I'd have like, I remember going through like Michigan and Washington State game books from the 1997 for the 1998 Rose Bowl, and coming up with like the Michigan defense's third down, like average distance to go on third down against that great Michigan defense, and how they couldn't convert, or like Ryan Leaf's third down passing percentage during that year. Because like none of this was like readily, there was no like real internet to find any of this. So I was kind of doing this manually to help Kirk with a lot of the game calls and a lot of his stuff on air as well. So I can remember Brad Edwards, who a lot of people know from his work at ESPN and the BCS guru for the ESPN. We used to live together, and I can remember the Route 66-3 Texas UCLA game the following year. Again, we did not have an AP poll database at the time, but we found a book of AP polls in some library in New York. And at the time, we had all the hard copies of the BD guides. We had a hard copy in our house because we were sickos and we would look shit up all the time. I remember one night we decided to be like, hey, you know what? I'd really love to find out like what the biggest margin of defeat for a top 10 team that they played the next year and what the result was. And I don't think we ever found the answer, but it was pretty cool to just start like writing stuff down throughout the middle of the night before a college football Saturday. But and now that's an easy thing to do with the AP poll database that we have here. It's every game involving a top 10 team, and here it is.
That's crazy. Wow.
So if you're wondering why Chris has had the job he's had these past few decades, and why you, listener at home, can't burst into the industry, it's because very clearly when he's banging down the door at the New York Public Library for old AP polls, Chris is capital B, built different, okay? And you just have to make peace with that.
For better or worse. That's
for better or for worse. So a few years ago, just sort of in sort of what you were talking about, the undisciplined index, maybe 3-4 years ago, it might have been Troy Taylor, the punter at Iowa. I calculated that the yardage that he ran on and off the field to punt a ball was greater than Iowa's offensive output. Like he was putting up more yards running on and off of the field. And I say that, one, to pat myself on the back because I was very proud of that. And two, have you ever come up with something? Have you ever dug up something? Have you ever I think you were doing the Aflac trivia stuff, right?
Mhm.
Like, have you ever found something that was too mean to put out there?
Too mean? Mm,
Maybe that's just the way my brain works, that I calculated like the Texas Tech
think
defense.
when and I think it's not a great reflection of on me, but I think if I give out like a wager now, like, it just shows the evolution of like my career, like
Right.
research, hardcore stats, and now people know me in the betting space. Like if I were to lose a wager and there was a ridiculous type performance in a game where a quarterback stunk or whatever, yeah, I would probably have a little bit of an axe to grind at time, and I would do my best not to. But or I can very specifically remember a couple of years ago, the Miami Syracuse game, the final game of the regular season, where Miami wins there in the ACC championship game, and they're probably going to go to the college football playoff, and they wound up, I think, kicking a field goal from like the 10-yard line late in the game, and I would just kind of like, what are you doing? Like the probability of your defense stopping Syracuse, which they haven't stopped them all game. Again, that was a very personal type thing.
Yeah.
But so I try to be better than that. Usually I don't like to kind of call people out. But
I'm saying just with stats. Like, have you discovered a stat?
Occasionally something will. When you were talking about your Troy Taylor punting, I can remember back to, gosh, I guess it would have been like the 2001 season. I can remember Nick Harris against Illinois had an unbelievable. It was, and I think I remember making a joke at the time, like I want to vote for Nick Harris for the Heisman, even though I don't have a Heisman vote. Like I think he pinned like Illinois inside the 10-yard line like 4 times in that game. It was like a ridiculously unbelievable effort. So like, yeah, the punt to win crowd, it was a great.
It's a big moment.
Yes, it's terrific.
Do you have maybe not even data supported elements of how you look at games or trends? Something we do on the show is called a letdown lookahead sandwich, where we're like, okay, this team just played a big game and they won or lost and whatever, and then next week they have something. I have no idea if the data supports it. What are your pet ways of looking at schedules and situations?
I love looking at it, and I don't have a way to quantify it either. Like, can you write some sort of code and download game by game histories from either like the Billingsley data or college football reference and like quantify like a team who do you pull an upset, then you play another bad team, and then you have another good team in between? Is it like unranked team, and then you have a top 10 team at home? Like, there are a bunch of different ways to do it, but it is absolutely something I look into. I can remember a few years back when Mississippi State had a game against UMass, and they were like a 30-something point favorite, I think they were, and they didn't come close to covering. And I believe that the next week they wound up hosting Texas A&M, and A&M I think was 4th and 5th in like the initial college football playoff rankings. And of course they pull the upset as a dog there. So like, yeah, there are certain, in my mentality and my thought process is these are 19, 20, 21-year-old kids still for the most part. You only have a finite measure of energy, emotion,
attention,
use in certain weeks, and they're on campus. They hear people talking about Ohio State's coming in next week, and oh yeah, we got Rutgers this week. Like, it's only natural to have a bit of a letdown. You know, coaches are spending a lot of time during that week looking ahead to other games as well. So that is one of the bigger handicapping tools that I have in my toolbox, is looking for the letdown look ahead sandwich game. I know Danny Sheridan is very big on that too, especially with the SEC Cupcake week late in the year that I guess now is going to be going away. But you can find a lot of, like, I can remember last year people at this time of the year talking about like, Oklahoma going to Temple the week before they played.
Yep, I remember this.
Yeah.
I remember this well.
And they went to Temple and they wound up winning very, very easily and getting the cover. So it doesn't always work. I mean, a lot of times it's baked into the line, but it's still something you have to pay attention to.
Here's what I want with all of your filtering abilities. And we talk about this on the show. We have not quantified it in any sort of accurate way. A lot of people point to weather. They point to the time change stuff. I want all of the elevation metrics. I want the teams playing at sea level who suddenly have to play at Wyoming, who suddenly have to play in Salt Lake City or Provo. That, I think, is the next untrod data that we could probably use to our advantage. How do you feel about elevation?
That's a great one. I think it absolutely matters. I think if you look at Utah and BYU at home, I think the numbers probably do bear something out there. I can remember doing way back when, trying to figure out like the best home field advantage, and I was just trying to do like difference in win percentage at home and on the road. And I think when I did this at some point in the 90s, like Washington had like the biggest difference between like home winning. Washington and Auburn were like the two biggest differences in like home win percentage and road win percentage. But have you guys been to either Rice Eccles or BYU?
I've only been to Rice Eccles. Yeah,
it is the fans are right on top of you. It's right there in the mountain area. It's all BYU the same way. That is some.
But like, look, there's a whole conference named after it. Although some of the teams are in the Pac-12 now, but in the Mountain West, right, a bunch of those schools. Air Force is up there. Boise, I believe, is up there. Wyoming's definitely up there.
Used to be very, very prominent in that too. So they were always a difficult place to go play when they had Moses Moreno and Kevin McDougal and Bradley Belt.
Sure.
So let me ask you this. You mentioned this earlier, that you started forming opinions of teams for this coming season. Are you finding teams or opinions that you'd be willing to share with us here today,
of course,
where you are trusting a team maybe more than the betting markets are trusting a team? Who are some of those squads that stand out?
Now you're asking, like, that's like taboo for me, because like you're asking me to give for the O word, which is over.
Okay,
I'm not necessarily an over guy.
Okay. Do you find that kills the fun? Because I don't like betting unders. I feel like it kills the fun.
I think it's more fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's more fun because I think you have kind of a contrarian opinion, and I think the contrarian opinions kind of are more beneficial for wagering and predicting. Because at this time of the year, everybody thinks their team's going to be good.
Well, here, this is the sound that we play.
It's about trust.
So this is our trust meter here with Chris Fallica. It could be teams maybe that you trust more, or teams that you trust less than whatever the lines are. Who are those teams for you that maybe you've looked at?
I do trust Indiana. And I wrote a little column earlier. They're going to have a 22-game winning streak when they host Ohio State on October 17th. The players, the schedule's easy. Players they brought in the portal, the culture of winning there. Now, are they a national title contender again? Can they beat Ohio State? Can they rip off a playoff run like they had? I don't know, but people who I think are the doubters of Indiana, I think need to go away, because I think they proved last year that they, with the collective that they have and the GM and the coaching staff that they have, they're here to stay. I do think the winner of the Miami Notre Dame game, here is one of my bigger bold takes. I think the winner of Miami Notre Dame in South Bend will be number one going into the college football playoff. I think that game is for the number one seed. I think Miami has the potential to be better than they were last year. Now, yes, they lose a lot of leaders, a lot of veteran starters on that team that kind of led by example on the field and in the locker room. But talent-wise, they could be more talented this year. And I think C.J. Carr, obviously year two, with the way Notre Dame is recruited and that's scheduled as well. There's a BYU example for you. They got to go to Provo.
They do.
That could be their one interesting game. But I think they're better than BYU. I think they'll get out of there with the win. I think Miami, Notre Dame are certainly two playoff teams. Oregon as well, if you want to look for another popular team. I made a wager, gosh, I guess it was 6 weeks ago or so now. At FanDuel, you're allowed to parlay these teams to make the playoff, and I'm sure the prices are long gone now, but you could parlay Miami, Notre Dame, and Oregon to make the playoffs, and you got like minus 116 or something on that, and something's going to have to go very wrong, I think, for one of those teams to miss the playoffs. So those are some of the teams right now that I am a little bit higher on than others. If we're looking for some of the teams that I am maybe not as high on, I think Michigan State is a team that is getting a lot of love. I went under 4.5 on their win total, but I am a big Pat Fitzgerald guy. I think he got screwed at Northwestern, but he went 4-8 in his final year. You take away the COVID year in 2020, and in his final 3 years at Northwestern, he was 7-29. Like how much has the sport changed since he was last coaching? And look, I would love to see him do well. If you look at their schedule, it's a problem in the Big Ten. Even though they don't have Ohio State, they don't have Indiana. You play Notre Dame in the non-conference. I think they are going to struggle mightily. Florida State, a team that we talked about, if you look at their quarterback situation right now, their portal situation is not great. They are, I think they are in big trouble again this year. Arkansas, I think they're going to, again, fail to win an SEC game. You bring in Ryan Silverfield, but you lose all of your offense. You look at the conferences, the conference schedule that they have. I just don't know where you're going to get a win. At Vandy, at Auburn, home Missouri, home South Carolina. I see them as an under 4.5 as well.
So you've occupied an interesting part of the college football universe, and a unique part, because you've been everywhere. I've been a lot of places. Ty's been some places. You've been everywhere. Has anything changed during your travels with the sport? Is it a vibes thing that's changed, or is it completely remained like everything changes in the sport, but Saturdays are sort of the same on campus? What have you or have you not noticed about how your experience has changed over the years?
I kind of hate that I'm saying this.
Yeah.
I've noticed in a lot of instances, like maybe fewer fans at games. It's the game experience. I don't know if it's on a week in, week out basis, if it's what it once was. I mean, I don't know if it's people would rather just either tailgate, or people would rather just hang at home, go to the bar, go to the restaurant, watch a bunch of games, because a lot of times with games on at the same time, you're missing a lot of stuff. So I noticed that in a sense. Like, I know with the game day and the big noon crowd, like it's always kind of there because you get a new group of people coming to campus every year, but it feels like fans at the game that might be a little bit on the decline. And I think people and fans more and more apt to be negative on their team, more booing, more fire the coach, more bench this guy. I find a lot more of that these days than I think I did in the past. It was one of the things that kind of LSU always stood out to me. Like, I always thought they were the best fans out there because they were brutally honest about their team. When they were good, they let you know about it and they support it. But when they were bad, they had their reasons, and those reasons were accurate, and they let you know about it. But it seems like there's just a lot of just like negative for the sake of being negative right now. I don't know.
I think that's reasonable. I think we've noticed that, especially online, and how fans seem to be
social media age is so much. And I know, even you talk about like my travels, like I'm always aware of that. Like I can think back to like the mid to late 90s, or on like a college game day weekend, where you could go out and you could go to dinner, and then you could go out to like the Swamp in Gainesville, or the Supper Club, or somewhere, and you didn't have to worry about like a camera phone. You could enjoy a beverage before going in for an early night and going
Right.
to work and just kind of hanging. And now you could never do that. Like you couldn't put yourself in the public space. You wouldn't want that to be out there from like a personal standpoint. That's something that you always are aware that people are gonna, whether they have a positive interaction or a negative interaction or experience, or how you respond to people coming up to you saying hello, do you want a picture? I mean, even if you're having like maybe the worst day, you know that like I want to be nice to everybody. I want to take a picture with everybody. I want to talk to everybody, not just because I'm concerned about like, oh no, if I say no to this person or I'm asleep on a plane and they happen to walk by, and I just want to be good to everybody, because I know that without them, there is no me, and there is no traveling show, and there is no sports, and there's nothing else. So, but just kind of eliminating the bad positions that you put yourself in, because of Twitter and Instagram and social media and camera phones right now.
Our friend Jeff Schwartz said to 100% ask you about college town food. What is on the new A-list? You've been everywhere. It's been a long time where you've been doing these shows of new places that you've been to in the last, 3, 4, 5 years. What has made the hair on your head stand up?
Well, it's going to be very, very hard to supplant the Smoking Pig at Clemson. It's actually in Pendleton, South Carolina. I know Dreamland gets a lot of love for its barbecue in Alabama, but the Smoking Pig is fantastic. It is the best barbecue that I have had to. If you are going to a road game in Clemson,
what's the order?
The order is they have a great loaded baked potato mash thing. It's awesome.
Okay.
They've got a great peach cobbler dessert. The pulled chicken, the pulled pork, the brisket, it's all fantastic. Obviously, macaroni and cheese is top notch as well. And you get yourself a gallon of sweet tea, and you're sticking to the floor as you walk out. So you're good to go there.
Let me get you out of here on this, because I know we both have World Cup on the brain. I know you're into it. Dan and I have been getting into it. I was at the game in Seattle. I'm going to the game in San Francisco. My wife and I fully have the fever. We're fired up. Given your proclivity for all things betting, I'm going to present you with a hypothetical.
Talk to me.
To wrap the show. For a second, and I don't know your betting tolerance, but let's assume you're a real cowboy. All right, let's assume you're one of those guys that takes everything out of the bank. You take it to Vegas for just one bet. You got your whole life savings. You can put on a bet. How reasonable, or I should say this, how far are you willing to put your life savings on the United States going in the World Cup?
32. Like we're talking as a bettor, as a handicapper, as someone who everyone is getting caught up in World Cup fever right now.
Right.
Can't you see a possibility where the hype is beyond belief, and we're sitting there playing Bosnia in the round of 32, and it's friggin' 0-0, and we're going to stop it, and we're going to added time?
I mean, you did say you're an under bettor, so you're not necessarily one to buy into the hype, is what I'm detecting here.
Yes, correct. They are clearly better than they have been, way better than what they've been. And Polk is a great manager, and I'm sure he's going to be gone after this. But truth serum, I think they will get to the round of 16. I wouldn't really count on them going much further than that. Like, if you're going to be in the part of the bracket that they're going to be on, they're not going to beat Spain in the quarterfinal. Like, that is as far as they will go. And if they get that far, that is amazing. Like I said before the tournament, like round of 16 is what they needed to reach.
Right.
And I do think that they will get there, because certainly now it looked like they were going to be drawing Belgium, but now the Belgium.
Forget about that. Forget about that.
And now you're probably going to be getting Egypt. You should beat Egypt, and then in the round of 16. So That's if you get past Bosnia, which you should. You're better than Bosnia, but there's going to
they're down their best player at the moment.
Yep, they're going to be a lot of hype and a lot of expectation. It's going to be everyone questioning you now to patting you on the back and, oh, wow, we're going to make a run to, can we beat Spain? And, we can beat Spain, and then we can beat France, and then we can beat Argentina or England in the final. Like that's not happening. But quarterfinals, it's not out of the realm of possibility. See, what I thought you were going to ask me was, like, you have to make one bet or one type of bet. What would it be?
Okay, what would it be?
And it would be under 2.5 in a high stakes knockout round game because of that reason, the style of play,
right?
Teams not wanting to make mistakes. And I actually did make a bet prior to the World Cup, and it might still be out there. I don't know if the numbers moved or the prices moved, but I did bet over 4.5 penalty shootouts because you're getting another 16 matches. And in the last go round, you had 5, and I think I laid like 195 or something like that on over 4.5. And I know a lot of places had 5.5, but I would expect that we'd see 5 knockout round penalty shootouts for sure.
Yeah. Well, you got an extra round. You have more games. I mean, it definitely gives you more bites at the apple. All right. Chris Fallica from Fox Sports, from the Big Noon universe, formerly of the College Game Day universe, the Bear Bets podcast that he does with our good friend Jeff Schwartz. First time on the show. It's been a pleasure. We'll have to have you on sometime soon.
Yeah, let's do it again. Either as the season gets closer or during the season. Maybe you can have Jeff and my ugly mugs up there.
Yeah, let's do it. That'd be great.
I'll throw a Miami hat on. He can throw in his Oregon jersey on. Yep. We'll be good to go.
All right, Dan, there you go. Chris Fallica, Fox Sports, the Bear Bets podcast. Go and check him out. Make sure you throw him a follow on social media as well. I love talking about experimental stats.
Same.
That is a thing for me. It's always been a thing for me. Have you ever had that curiosity that I described earlier, where you're watching a game and they pull out some random thing? It's a lot of baseball, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But they pull out this random scenario from the Elias Sports Bureau, and I just wonder to myself, who is in charge of finding this? How are they finding it? There's no way there is a predetermined thing that you can just click on and find and what a guy ate before a game in 1935 or what, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so that's where I was going with that. It was interesting to get his insight.
Well, baseball is especially good because you get those old names where it's just nobody has tripled in 11 consecutive games since Hopscotch Tillman.
That's right.
There's those guys. Tomato Can
Boyd.
Stevenson.
Or
there was an
Boyd.
Oil Can Boyd. Yeah.
Oil Can Boyd, excuse me.
But yeah, those are the, Treehouse McGee. So yeah, we don't unfortunately have detailed stats for college football that go back that long a distance. But yes, I think Chris was doing the Aflac trivia stuff, come back from commercial, go into commercial. They'd ask the question and come back, and Kirk would try to guess it. That was always fun. But yeah, the experimental stats, I'm always on board with. That's why I want elevation numbers, literally and figuratively. Yeah,
I could probably figure that. We have people who listen to us in our verballerhood, in our Discord, frankly,
right,
who I think would be down to help with that.
Like if we were to go back, I mean, look, if you go back 5 years, 10 years, and you look at teams covering spreads at home and like what the biggest discrepancies are covering home and road, teams that are playing at elevation, that's interesting to me.
Do you think if we figured out the delta, the location or the elevation at the location where they are based versus the elevation that they are playing their game at,
right,
and then somehow looked at like a point differential and how it compares to, I guess you'd have to like normalize it somehow. But is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yes, absolutely. I just want to know, like, and I had this conversation with our guest last week, my guest last week on the bonus show, Monty McNair, former president and GM of the Sacramento Kings. That
was great, by the way.
He was on our bonus show.
It was on the plane. That was great.
He was talking about how much, home court advantage is worth and different referees, and the idea that, okay, normal home field advantage in college football, let's say it's worth an average of 2.7 points or something like that. But at elevation, it's 3.9, right? That there is actual data to support it, because I don't think there's body blow data to support that theory, even though obviously that's ironclad. And letdown lookahead sandwich, like that's all like subjective how you define those games. Elevation's elevation, Ty. which was
Yeah.
also interesting when the Mountain West existed in the way that it used to exist, because you'd have the West teams not playing at elevation. Your San Diego State. I hope San Diego State's not at elevation. But then they would play against, Air Force or Colorado State or something like that. And to see the discrepancy in those home and away games, how teams did when they were used to playing at elevation and had to go elsewhere, and vice versa. So I don't know, Ty. I think there's enough data if you go back enough years.
I mean, we're living in a 3-dimensional universe, man.
This is true. I don't know what that means, but it's true.
I mean, it goes up. You gotta factor that in.
Yeah, agree.
All right. Well, big thanks to the Bear for stopping on by here. It was a pleasure to have him on the show here. It's been a long time coming, so glad we were able to finally make that work. As I said at the very top, please hit follow or subscribe if you have yet to do so, because previews are just around the corner. Got another episode or so before we fully dive in and start getting you ready for the season. But if you've already done that important first step and follow what we do, we would encourage you to leave a review, leave a star rating, tell your friends at a minimum about the show. We are welcoming here in the Verballerhood. All are welcome to stop on by and talk college football with us, Dan.
Definitely.
Why don't we leave it there? We will be back, as I said, before long. Make sure you check those feeds, check our social media channels for updates on when the next episode is going to drop, as you and I are doing some travel. We would welcome everybody to stop on by. As I said, solidverbal.com is the website if you want to find out more about what we do. For that guy over there, my good friend Dan Rubenstein, for our guest of honor today, Chris Fallica. We'll be back soon. In the meantime, for that guy Dan, for myself, Ty, you know the drill. Stay solid.
Peace.